Descent of the Demon God. By Hanjo Wiolia. Chapter 215. The Clues to Change. Part 1. Stronger than Elder Cho? The person in the silver mask reacted with disbelief. He had put Elder Cho in charge of the telescope and left to take care of business only to come back and hear such a seemingly absurd and unfathomable statement. Is there really anyone in the world who can defeat Elder? It wasn't just flattery, it was the trust he had in the Elder. For the silver-masked man, Elder Cho's existence was the supreme power. In response to his words, Elder Cho made a weird expression and answered with a smile. Being strong and winning are two different things. The eyes of the silver-masked man smiled when he saw that the Elder wasn't feeling down. Suddenly, Elder Cho got up. Where are you going? I need to prepare. Ah. Call the Zodiacs. Hearing that, the voice of the silver-masked man trembled. Finally, the time seems to have come. On the forehead of the silver mask, the word Ox was engraved neatly. I will carry out the order. Shoo! The silver-masked man disappeared into thin air as if he had melted away. He seemed to be an expert at doing so since he had left so effortlessly. As he disappeared, Elder Cho mumbled, "Whoever survives to the end wins." Yongchun Group's chairman, Chen Yujang, and the commander of the National Guard, Cho Yun, were in deep conversation about the recent events. Cho Yun's attitude was noticeably different from before, as there were many signs of newfound politeness in his words. Are soldiers going to be stationed here? Oh, no way. Don't worry, we will evacuate as soon as the damage analysis is done. None of the officers could argue against Cho Yun, as they all felt the same way. They couldn't help but marvel at the vice-chairman of the Yongchun, who had defeated the Demon King and subdued his army. They were convinced that even the entire military wouldn't be able to take him down. For a while, the world will be in Yongchun's hands. The officers knew that this statement was undeniable and now understood why An Wuhong had signed an agreement with Yongchun Group on equal footing. Tack. When Cho Yun motioned with his hand, an officer came up to him and presented him with a bag. Inside was a mobile device with a security system. What's this? Ahem, this is a secure cell phone with a direct number to the office of the Jinan National Guard. If there are any problems with gates or anything else, please feel free to call us here directly. It was an ambitious proposal with heavy implications, as the National Guard's request would be no different than actively cooperating with Yongchun Group. Chen Yujang couldn't hide his satisfaction. Thanks to my ancestor, everything is going smoothly. He believed that everything was possible because of Chen Yuan, which was an undeniable fact. Chen Yujang glanced at the site. What's happening? He had approached Cho Yun to manage the situation, but was now more curious about what was happening inside. Inside the Yongchun Group site, all the demons were gathered, including Grand Duke Kaliaf and the demons from Bamut Prison who were enjoying their victory and the ones under the former Demon King who were now awaiting their disposal. They all focused on the situation at hand, which would determine their fate. The 10th Troop's commander, Marquis Pato, pledges eternal loyalty to the new Demon King. The 11th Troop's commander, Marquis Oxad, pledges eternal loyalty to the new Demon King. The highest-ranking demons, the troop leaders, were pledging their allegiance to the new king, following an oath in their clan laws. No matter how horribly they lived, they still were beings with respect, and they knew that the lack of a firmly established system would shake the clan, which is why they did not hesitate to announce their loyalty. Chen Yuan watched them. In reality, he didn't care too much about such things and wanted to avoid them, but he knew that these allegiances would be necessary to control the demons. The oath of allegiance of all the troop commanders is done, Your Majesty. The first squad's commander, Marquis Alchemir, spoke as their representative. As a central figure in the Demon King's army, he played a very significant role and had no idea that this result would come from his opening the gate location to this destination. Now, his heart was beating heavily. If our Lord wants to, couldn't we conquer the entire China? Hu Bong spoke with a smile. However, Becky and the other demon commanders didn't answer him. To be honest, their new king had unbelievable powers. Even the lowest demon could outperform humans at the master level. In addition, the demons above the count level were strong enough to beat all of the strongest humans. Conquering China? He could probably have the entire world in his hand. With his power, it really seemed possible. If Chen Youwen was their king, then conquering the world wouldn't just be a dream. The Murim Association had also lost its control under the Sky Demon Order, which had an agreement with the Ministry of National Defense and now reigned over S-class entity demons. Chen Youwen also had 2 SS-class keepers on his side and a golden gumiho that followed him around. He definitely had the largest power on Earth. MS Group touched someone they shouldn't have. Currently, the only enemy Chen Youwen had was the MS Group, which they felt terrible for at this point. Chuck. Grand Duke Kaliaf and Duke Joseph knelt. Their smiles didn't leave their faces, as both of them were happy that Demon King Tora was dead and Larisha was back. Your Majesty, please tell me what to do. Grand Duke Kaliaf asked for Chen Youwen's following orders. The question would determine the future of the demons and whether or not Chen Youwen would come to the demon realm with them. Chen Youwen controlled all of the power now. He looked around, looking at the 7,000 demons there who didn't have a place to stay. Unnecessary power. Chen Youwen thought that all of them didn't need to stay there, but Chen Youwen was also someone who had to go back to his original timeline someday. And my absence will cause confusion. Chen Wu Jin and Chen Yujing weren't skilled enough to control them, and the 7,000 demons were beyond what they could handle. Making a decision, Chen Youwen said. Kaliaf. Yes, Your Majesty. Grand Duke Kaliaf lifted his head. However, Chen Youwen's following words were unexpected. I appoint you as the next Demon King. All the demons who heard him were shocked. Just now, they were done pledging their allegiance to the new king, but he had suddenly announced that he would abdicate his throne? Your Majesty, what do you mean? Duke Joseph was bewildered and asked Chen Youwen. It's just as you heard. I said that Kaliaf would be the new Demon King. Why so sudden, Your Majesty? Grand Duke Kaliaf, too, was perplexed by the words. The seat of the Demon King wasn't something that could be given so easily to just anyone. If he wanted to receive the throne, Kaliaf would have to convince the demons first and then fight the current king, but Chen Youwen had defeated the former king. Could you just accept it under the law? Tack. Grand Duke Kaliaf clasped his hands and pleaded, please take back your words, Your Majesty. Right, Your Majesty. No one in the clan can understand this. Duke Joseph bowed as well. He thought he had finally allowed Larisha to sit on the throne, but this new situation confused him. Chen Youwen looked at them and smiled. You seem to be misunderstanding something. Huh? What do you mean? He continued. I am in a position to take care of the Sky Demon Order and the clan, and cannot be tied to one place as a king. At those words, Grand Duke Kaliaf and Joseph were confused. From their point of view, humans on Earth weren't strong, but rather very weak. Was there any need to lead these trivial beings? Chen Youwen could feel their thoughts from their expressions. I won't be able to control them if I leave them alone. Even if they had sworn allegiance, the suppression of power acted on the most basic level. If one doesn't have the strength to convince subordinates, they will never follow. I need to press them firmly. Whoa! Intense Sky Demon energy radiated from Chen Youwen's body. Dark energy was creeping and encroaching in every direction, stealing breaths from all of the demons. Even if that wasn't enough, Chen Yuan now also had the Demon King's powers, which had been absorbed, and was unfathomably strong. Quack. Why? The suppressed demons couldn't raise their heads. This was the same for Grand Duke Kaliaf and Duke Joseph. Chen Yuan spoke in a firm voice and used internal energy so that everyone could hear him. I am the demon god, a being who reigns above the king. His voice rang in the demons' ears and stimulated them, which was one of the Demon King's abilities. It was the power to overpower and suppress every demon with lower power than him, and Chen Yuan was twice as strong than the former Demon King, so every demon was afraid. Chen Yuan approached Grand Duke Kaliaf and Duke Joseph. Who am I? Why, Your Majesty? I am not a king. I'll ask again, who am I? Grand Duke Kaliaf struggled to open his mouth at the overbearing force. T, the great demon god. I am someone who reigns above the king. Chen Yuan was making sure they all knew that he was someone higher than the Demon King. Chen Yuan looked at the commanders and asked, has it been engraved who I am? The commanders, suppressed by the overbearing power, responded with immense difficulty. Demon God. Shu. Chen Yuan, who heard their answer, called back his energy as all of the previous suppressed demons let out a rough breath. Even Grand Duke Kaliaf looked pale. Chen Yuan clearly made his statement. He isn't someone we can wield recklessly. Grand Duke Kaliaf didn't want to incur the wrath of Chen Yuan, who was a monster strong enough to annihilate all the demons. Smiling, Chen Yuan said, I give you the throne. Rule the demons, Kaliaf. Gulp. Grand Duke Kaliaf now answered. I will follow the command of the demon god. Despite the role of Demon King being given away, Chen Yuan still held the real power. It was as if he were wielding a king. The commanders, Duke, and Grand Duke were aware of this, but they couldn't complain. Enough. Should I just send them now? Chen Yuan decided to send them back, but still looked around, thinking about whether or not it would be beneficial to keep the demons with useful powers with him. Wait, they can handle the gates at their will. Wouldn't it then be possible to control the gates on Earth too? Because of the gates that opened randomly, Earth suffered greatly from the invasions. However, there was now a clue to controlling them. Chapter 216. The Clues to Change. Part 2.
The lower body armor of Arisha can transform into 12 daggers and has the ability called Control, which can restrain an opponent and allow the user to control them.
The next day, a meeting was held in the conference room in Yongchun Group. In the room, a 3D image of Earth was displayed. The people gathering in the conference room were the executives of the Yongchun Group, the 5 demon commanders, Duke Joseph, and Chen Yuan with his subordinates. After the unfathomable battle, most of the demons returned to the demon realm. Of course, not everyone was sent back, as Chen Yuan selected 300 demons with powers that couldn't be ignored to remain on Earth. TAC. Marquis Alchemir, the commander of the first squad, operated the 3D machine and showed 6 positions of the Earth. Pointing at them, he said, "These points are the backbone of the star road that exists on Earth." Star road? Chen Wujin asked with a puzzled expression. The star road is the path which exists between the planets. Marquis Alchemir gave a simple definition. However, it still wasn't enough for people who heard it for the first time. Between planets? I think I should explain from the start. Marquis Alchemir rubbed his forehead while showing a troubled expression. Despite significant advancements in human science, there were still so many unknowns. Moreover, the same was true for the gates that were opened. Tatak. After Marquis Alchemir pressed another button, the image changed to a universe filled with stars. The universe is vast. Planets are places where living things settle in the universe. Since the beginning, these planets have had a way to interact with other planets. That is Star Road. Star Road. It meant the passage between planets. Are all planets the same? Marquis Alchemir answered Chen Yuan's question. Yes, demon god. We don't know why it came into existence, but there is certainly a passage between planets. Everyone nodded their heads, because it was not a tricky thing to understand. Turning back to the image of the Earth, Marquis Alchemir continued. What you see now is the core of the star road. What is a core? It is the heart of the star road which opens and closes. Can you open and close it? Each planet has its own system that protects the planet itself from external influence by star road. If something goes wrong with the center, the same thing as this happens? Yes. Something like today. It means that the gates on the Earth are opened. And now, as everyone was rushing to block the gate, he couldn't figure out why this was happening. Huan Miango said in a trembling voice. Well, if we solve the problem with the core, or heart, will we be able to prevent the gate incidents? At least we can prevent unintentional openings. Whoop. At those words, people could not hide their shock. To say they can solve the gate that has put humankind into a cage. As everyone was expressing their joy, Chen Yuan asked. You said the planet has its own protection system, but there are cases where problems arise arbitrarily? Ah. Everyone was focused on those words. As Marquis Alchemir said, there was no way that the self-protection system would have broken. Marquis Alchemir took a deep breath and answered. The planet's own protection was robust. It cannot be broken unless you force it into a shock. So, someone broke it? Chen Yuzhang asked with a frown, and Marquis Alchemir just responded with a nod. No way. All of this. Everyone in the room was stunned by the revelation. The gate was no less than a natural disaster for humankind. It was natural for them to be shocked to learn the truth that such a disaster was forced by someone. Thoughts ran in their heads, and their shock turned to anger. What kind of things would make it happen? How horrible. Even the number of people who died due to the gate was complex. The reality is that many misfortunes were caused by this. They wondered what kind of person or being could want to end humanity. That is what I know. Just because he knew the gate well, did not mean he knew who was behind the incident. It was the same with the other demon commanders. However, some people had different reactions. It was Duke Joseph. Chen Yuan, who noticed it, asked. Duke Joseph. Ah. Demon God. You seem to know something? He hesitated and then said, as if unsure of something. Why? Duke Joseph, who was hesitant about the question, opened his mouth. The last time I visited Earth, the gates did not open arbitrarily. Do you know when this started? 28 years ago. Chun Wu-jin was the one who answered it. Not just him, but the members of the Sky Demon Order could not forget it. The First Dimension Gate. It was the worst tragedy in history that occurred due to the simultaneous opening of gates. 28 years back? It could only be your beliefs. You mean it isn't that? It seems to be a little different from what I know. Different? What do you mean? If they forcibly damage the Star Road's core, this planet should be under control by now, but it doesn't seem like it. Control? When everyone was puzzled, Duke Joseph shook his head and said, I know of a similar thing. If they did damage it, the Earth would have been worshipping the Heaven clan by now. At the word heaven, Chen Yuan remembered something. Heaven clan? Are you talking about Talicia's clan? Yes. The rest of the demons started to get interested in the topic. Heaven clan? Talicia's clan was involved? Talicia was their lifelong nemesis, and it seemed like Duke Joseph had different information from what they knew. Talicia clan was a clan called Heaven. Unlike our clan who enjoy the pure warlike nature, they are a clan who like to rule and be worshipped. They have a desire to conquer. Among all the living things, there is no one without the desire to conquer. But they are happy to be worshipped. Perverts, maybe? It makes them feel happy. Hu Bong clicked his tongue and shook his head. Duke Joseph smiled and continued. It is no surprise when you visit the area they have conquered. They have created sculptures and constructed temples to worship them as gods. Funny people. Their methods are the same. Open the gates to the planet, cause a crisis, and then come over and help, which makes people worship them. They solve it? It is to showcase their power. Such disgusting beings. Duke Joseph said in a voice of contempt. In the case of demons, they do not treat the weaker ones more than bugs. On the other hand, the Heaven clan wants them to be worshipped by the weaker race. They had opposing ideas. However, neither is desirable. Chen Youwen did not speak out. If not for him, even the demons would be harmful to humans. Anyway, it can't be them. It seems like it. If it were them, they would not leave the gates open this long and attempt to block the path of the sky and seal off the planet's source of power and then suppress the humans with fear, and after that. Wait. Huan Miango suddenly stopped him from speaking. What do you mean by blocking the path of the sky? There are differences in technology between planets, but air transport is at the heart of the advanced civilizations. Controlling the air movements makes people weak. Huan Miango realized something after hearing what Duke Joseph stated. Air transport is an area occupied by the large military. It was tightly controlled, resulting in people losing half of their power. Why did you ask that, Huan Miango? Lord Chen Ma, can I ask another thing? Director Huan Miango asked solemnly, and Chen Youwen agreed with a nod. Here. So, what does it mean to shut off the source of the power of living things? Looks like you are interested. Human. It is simple. If you were to invade with an army, what strategy would you take? Strategy? It is to block the greatest power the opponent has. They will become vulnerable if you cut off their energy or eliminate their power source. Duke Joseph spoke naturally. Huan Miango was shocked after hearing that. Looking at Huan Miango, Chen Youwen was puzzled as he tried to speak. However, before he could say anything, Huan Miango said a word. NFIJ. NFIJ? What is it? A fission neutralizing jammer. The moment he heard it, one of the information Nano had gathered in his mind popped into Chen Youwen's thought. Nuclear fission incapacitation jammer. A device to neutralize nuclear fission. Shortly after the gate opened, humankind was unable to engage in it, cutting off the smooth supply and demand of energy and making it impossible to use the nuclear bomb, humanity's greatest weapon. The monsters and their cores came out of the gate, which replaced the supply and demand of Earth's energy. Ah. When this came to mind, Chen Youwen understood why Huan Miango reacted like this. With a trembling voice, Huan Miango said, Lord. It seems like this was truly done by the Heaven clan. Duke Joseph frowned. What do you mean, human? It is as you said. As I said? Earth has lost its nuclear weapons and airways due to the TRAs that have been up in each region. Hoo. When they heard what Director Huan Miango had stated, the commanders of the Sky Demon Order stiffened up. They, too, were aware of nuclear fission and the blockage of the airways. However, they did not think it would turn out like this. Duke Joseph mumbled. But, why did the Talicious clan leave you alone then? If what they were saying was true, Talicious clan brought the optimal situation they wanted. If so, Earth should have fallen into their hands. A heavy atmosphere was filled in the room because of shocking truths. Then Chen Youwen said, The bottom line is that Talicious clan is responsible for this situation, and isn't it possible to close the gate by restoring the core of Star Road? Right. Demon God. Chen Youwen stood up at Duke Joseph's answer. Then we have work to do. Huh? We must close the gate and wipe out Talish's clan. Chen Yuan concluded. In a massive chamber in some unknown place, more than 300 glass tubes were filled with red liquid and beings that looked like humans. A computer monitor screen was attached at the top of the glass tubes and displayed for adjustments. Step. The steps of someone walking in can be heard. It was Elder Cho. He passed through the glass tubes and reached the main computer. Wing. Among the multiple monitors connected to the main one, the largest monitor containing someone's rendered image was viewed. It was a person with the letter A on the gold mask. A voice came from the speaker, breaking the chamber's silence. First guest. To which Elder Cho answered with an expressionless face. It is just us two. Don't call me that. I get it, Elder Cho. What is the progress of the project? The process is running smoothly. About 8% of the composition is done. Soon, after we upload the whole brain, we will succeed and will be able to move directly. That is nice to hear. What about the results? Elder Cho, no, Cho Yu-shin, looked at the tubes at Maske's question. I went to pick it up. Can we use them? The adjustment is made. Class C entities can simply upload any information at any time. Wait. What is it? Maske seemed puzzled. At that, Cho Yu-shin smiled. A rat infiltrated. Shoo. With that, Cho Yu-shin turned towards the ventilation at the ceiling. It was about 500 meters away. The moment he looked up, the person hiding in the vent was shocked. Damn it! The black-masked person mumbled. He tried to escape fast while bewilderedly thinking about how he was noticed. Having learned the silent walking art, he was a master in stealth, so he didn't think he would be found so easily. However, Quang. Quack. His body was pulled down and fell to the ground at the strong pull of the internal energy. He attempted to get up as soon as he fell, but he couldn't. Shoo. Cho Yu-shin stepped on his head. Quack. Rat. Cho Yu-shin looked down at the man and took off his mask. Weak. There was something on him. A red dot flashed. A tracker? Cho Yu-shin threw the tracker away, and something like a mechanical hand jumped out of the floor and grabbed the terminal. Block it. I will. Maske answered from the speaker, and Cho Yu-shin leaned over and touched the mask. The man bit his tongue, but the massive internal energy grabbed him by the chin. Shoo. Cho Yu-shin held the infiltrator's chin and leveled the man's eyes near his abdomen. Closing his eyes, he mumbled. Hoo-hoo, you people. Blade God 6 Martial Clan. Hearing those words, the man's eyes shook. Just by touching the body, this person could tell his clan. Looking at him being flustered, Cho Yu-shin smiled. I need to clean this up.
Angel's notes. Star Road is the distance between planets used as a path or a passage to each other. Oh, it has a core/heart that opens and closes. Self-protection system, a planet's protection from external influence. Oh, when forcefully damaged, external forces can go in and out of the planet without any restrictions, causing the planet to turn into chaos. Talish's clan is also known as the Heaven Clan. It is a clan that would do anything just to rule and be worshipped, such as causing a crisis and then solving it as the people praise them. NFIJ, Nuclear Fission Incapacitation Jammer, is a device to neutralize nuclear fission.